to College Corner for week 2 of the college football season. Last week, a fantastic start to the year. We finished on the show 3-1, and for the entire week, 9-2 with our picks. Again, like I mentioned in last week's video, be sure to follow me on Twitter. Not all the plays I have for the entire week are going to be shared here. I do have 5 today, but I do have more for the rest of the weekend, so be sure to follow me on Twitter. I'll include that link down below in the description. I've got 5 plays for you, including a player prop as well, which we've been crushing. Last week we went 2-0 with our player props. But what we also have for the rest of the season as well is a couple non-betting related segments just around the college football world. And I want to start with, and we'll hold these 3 segments every single week, is our bad visual of the week. I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, but this photo of Arkansas head coach Sam Pittman is an incredibly tough look. He's certainly packing, and I'm not talking between his legs. I'm talking his tits. Those are massive. If you're a big boy, if you're a little bit overweight, I think there's some good advice to take from this one for a photo, probably don't want to spread the arms out, put both arms around anybody, because man, those things are really showing off. It's looking more like, the girl in grade 8 that you thought had a nice rack, but it really was just she was a little bit overweight. That's what Sam Pittman looks like. If this guy is in your living room trying to recruit your son, I don't know how you can take him seriously. A very bad visual for Sam Pittman to start the first week of the college football season. But let's get into the first play today. We're going to Friday, so today when this video is dropping, hopefully you're watching it early. You're getting this information from me and getting a bet in tonight for what is a great game between Kansas and Illinois. Kansas at home here. I'm backing the -3 in this one. What I am looking at with this Illinois team, and one I'll probably have a read on for the early parts of the season, is Illinois loses a number of important pieces in their secondary. Don Witherspoon, he's been drafted with the Seahawks. Sidney Brown as well. Lose Kendall Smith and Jartavius Martin. That's a lot of lost pieces for this secondary that they have to try to find replacements for. The defensive line is really, really strong. So even if the secondary struggles, the D-line is elite. They have guys that will certainly be drafted and are really talented players like Jerzon Newton, and then the other kid is, Keith Randolph as well. So this is a defense that I feel like we got a good read for. They lose their defensive coordinator as well in Ryan Walters. And then they also have that last week, their defense gave up 28 points to Toledo. So what I'm looking at here is for a team that can protect their quarterback really well and then can put the ball in the air and beat teams up through the air. And I think that's what Kansas can do here. Kansas is a team that ranks 2nd in returning production on the year, 1st on offense. 91% of their production is back on offense. They're 10th on defense as well. 80% is back. And Kansas' offensive line was actually really solid last year. 25th in pressure rate allowed and just a 2.9% sack rate, which was 11th in the country. So fantastic there. Can definitely protect. They got 4 of their 5 starters from last season back. And then the receiver spot, all of the top 6 pass catchers from last season are back as well, including a very good tight end, Mason Fairchild. He is back as well. And what I like about this Kansas team is getting Jalen Daniels, who will be starting on Friday night. Jake Bean is definitely a serviceable backup, but Daniels is back for this one in week 2, and I like what they can do through the air in this game against this Illinois team who faced a mobile QB last week, but now gets one that is even better in Daniels. And the Kansas defense is certainly going to struggle. It'll benefit them to be at home here, but I like what they did in some additions they went through in the portal on the defensive line, because that's where they struggled, was against the run and also being able to generate some pressure. So I think they could be a little bit better there. I'm taking Kansas at home to cover as a short favorite. Next thing I want to get to is our stat line of the week. Usually I want to go to like a quarterback that just played hilariously bad. Shout out to Keegan Shoemaker, who was like 18 of 33 for 140 yards and 3 picks. And they still covered the Sam Houston State QB, who to me has no business starting in an FBS game. But as Sam Houston made the jump, he was their starter, but they still covered a 14-0 loss. He threw a horrendous interception in the red zone after his defense got him the ball inside the red zone. But that is not the stat line we'll go to. I mean, we've got to talk about Travis Hunter, man. Played 145. This is what I got from PFF, ESPN, from the screenshot I'm sharing with you. Told us differently. He played 87% of total snaps in the game, not just on defense, not just on offense, in total for this Buffs team. What a game. 14 targets, 11 receptions, 119 yards. Then he gave up just a 33% catch rate on defense, 3 pass breakups, an interception, a freaky interception that basically helped this team was one of the deciding factors of this game, a 14-point swing basically for Colorado. But what does Deion do with this guy the rest of the season? I mean, we can't have Travis Hunter on the season this much. Young kid. I remember a lot of you guys playing minor sports are just never getting injured. Eventually playing at this level, if Travis Hunter is getting this many snaps, he's not going to be able to handle it, and there's going to be some sort of injury. He's definitely not practicing during the week. I wish I had a Heisman ticket on Travis Hunter, because if he keeps doing this, if he keeps playing this much, there's no way he doesn't win this award, especially with Caleb Williams being the favorite, having already won it. There's definitely a little bit of fatigue there. Travis Hunter, what a start to his career in the FBS, and what a game from Colorado in week 1. All right, let's get to the big game of week 1, Texas and Alabama. I've got 2 plays here. I got a play on the total and a player prop. Let's start with the total. I'm on the under, 54.5. Pay attention as well. I'm sharing what is the best line you can get out there currently as I'm recording, and hopefully you can get this 54.5, as I know come down a little bit from what the opener is. What I'm looking at here is I think this Alabama offense, I know we got to see them against Middle Tennessee State. Not much to take away from. I think it's going to be much different this year. There's no Bryce Young. There's no Mac Jones. I think Young masks some of their offensive deficiencies, especially at the wide receiver spot, and a little bit on the offensive line too. And then you get Tommy Rees coming in as the offensive coordinator. And if you look at this offense, I think it will operate at a much slower pace. Bama last year was 55th in seconds per play. Notre Dame last year, where Tommy Rees was calling plays, 114th. So I think they'll be a much slower. Now we have Jalen Milroe at QB, and I think this means this team wants to impose their will on the ground and physically dominating at the line of scrimmage. And I think they can do that, because Milroe will definitely spread opposing defenses out with what he can do with his legs. He's not a very good passer. They don't have a lot of talent, again, like I mentioned, at the receiver spots. And I think what they're going to do is take it to this Texas team on the ground. Texas last year really, really struggled tackling wise. They were outside the top 100 in broken tackle rate, outside the top 100 in stuff rate. They do have talent though. They got a couple future NFLers at the tackle spots in Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. They also have Jalen Ford back as well, and then they have like a superstar recruit in Anthony Hill at the linebacker spot too. So I think they will be much better, but that definitely still is something that I think they can attack. On the offensive side for Texas, freaky talents all over the receivers spot with Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, A.D. Mitchell they brought in from Georgia. Isaiah Nayor missed all of last season with an injury. He came in from Wyoming last year as a transfer. He's a very talented player. The good news is Malachi Moore and Jalen Key have been at practice. I think they will play in this game. And this Alabama secondary is actually very, very strong. When you talk about those two guys, Kool-Aid McKinstry as well, someone that can man up and take on a guy like Xavier Worthy. I think the secondary can do its job. And the defensive front is also freaky. I know they lose Will Anderson, but Dallas Turner is still back. You have to pay attention to Jaheim Otis. He's a freak at the defensive tackle. They actually kicked him out to D-end a little bit. Unbelievably good player, and a really superstar recruit as well for Alabama. I think this game is played pretty slow. I think this Alabama defense might be the best in the entire country, and I think they put that on display in this game here, and being at home will definitely help them match up with this Texas offense. So I like the under 54.5 in this one. Okay, like I mentioned, do have a player prop. Without the OwnersBox.cash, we wouldn't be crushing it to start the year in college football with the player props. If you guys haven't had the chance to check them out, if you use promo code OwnersBox, 25% off your first month. So just $15 for the first month on props.cash. Awesome app and platform to use, both on the app and on web, to be able to help you with your college football prop betting, because they have so much information when it comes to player trends, when it comes to looking at numbers, and instead of going to all different places to figure things out, they have it all in one place and has really been beneficial. And I'll just put it on display here to help you guys get an idea of what they are all about. They got it in college football, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL when it's back, in every major sport. But I'm on Jace McClellan, over 62.5 rushing yards. So we talked about what this Texas team really struggled with last season when it came to tackling. Now, we're looking at these numbers here for props.cash. Obviously, for McClellan, the numbers don't look great. He didn't hit this number a lot 2 of his last 10 games, but that's because he was the backup behind Jahmyr Gibbs last season. But I look at his carries, and you look at the numbers from last year, when he was getting more than 11 carries, getting into the teens with his carries, he's clearing this number. And the 2 games that he did clear it were without Jahmyr Gibbs. So with Gibbs gone, he's the number 1 option here, a very physical guy and physical runner. I like him to score a touchdown in this game as well. But I also look at and go to the Texas game last year, and this is one of the games that he cleared. He had just 6 carries, 97 yards. He was able to go over this number pretty significantly. And I think with the help of Jalen Milroe to spread out opposing defenses because they do have to respect his legs. That will certainly open up some holes here for McClellan to run into. And like I said, I think this is a Bama team that kind of turns back the clock and really emphasizes the ground game, and McClellan will be that driving factor for it. So I'm taking the over on his rushing yards in this one. All right, before we get to our last picks, this will be probably my favorite segment. This is going to be our "Yeah, that's college football" of the week. Basically, someone who doesn't watch college football or watching the game with you, they see something and you go, yeah, that's just what they do in college football. And to me, last week, that was Michigan's I formation / human centipede in respect to Jim Harbaugh. No, only in college football would we see a suspended coach being honored like he just passed away. Like somebody might think Jim Harbaugh died because they're putting together this little first play ceremonious honoring of him. But it's even better when you actually have the context of this is a suspended coach who actually the suspension was self-imposed by him and his program because, hey, we don't want to take the risk of missing Jim Harbaugh in a game against Texas. We'd rather him miss this game against East Carolina in our cupcake non-con schedule. So crazy little visual for people who don't know about college football. But what an interesting thing for Michigan to be doing and these players to be doing when, their coach isn't dead. He just is suspended for obviously a little bit of a ticky-tack type of deal here, but still hilarious in my mind. All right, getting to our final two games of the week. I'm going to Arizona plus 9.5 against Mississippi State. Now, bear with me here because I think there's some important information to get to you. The passing of Mike Leach is devastating, tragic, one of the best figures in college football. One of the guys I've absolutely loved growing up watching his team play and him coach. But it has me really concerned with where this program is heading into this season, just in the immediate, maybe not long term. Zach Arnett takes over as the head coach. He was the DC for the team last year, and that's where my concern comes in. So he hires Kevin Barbay out of App State, and I think this offense is really going to change. He's the new offensive coordinator, and that worries me. So the scheme's going to be far different. They want to be more balanced on offense, and if you know anything about Mike Leach's offense, it's heavy passing team. And what concerns me is they didn't have any tight ends on the roster, so they brought in a couple of transfers. They're going from not playing with tight ends whatsoever to now having tight ends heavily involved in their formations. And what concerns me is the recruiting standpoint for Mike Leach, the recruiting of the offensive line that was so focused on pass protection, and they're pass blocking at a rate where they're throwing the ball in almost 69% of plays, by far the highest in the country. And now we're asking them to be in more traditional balanced offense where they're run blocking a fair bit more, but that's not what they were recruited to do. And then Will Rogers, who I think he's more a product of the system than a product of his talent, has to go into this more balanced offense, loses Ra Thomas, he transfers out to Georgia. And then you look at the defense that loses a ton of production. They're 118th in returning production, just 43% back. And the most important place where they lose the most production is the secondary. Emmanuel Forbes to the NFL as well. He's now a Washington Commander. They don't really have anything back. They've got to reload completely here. They lose some edge rushers, got some question marks as who's going to rush the passer. And then they run into this Arizona team that I love to watch. Jaden DeLora, I think, is one of the best quarterbacks, most underrated quarterback in the Pac-12 for sure. And this team will attack you through the air. They were top 10 in pass rate this past season. That will continue under Jed Fish. They lose Dorian Singer. He transfers out, but they still have Jacob Cowing, who's a fantastic talent at receiver spot for DeLora to lean on. And this Miss State defense, missing those guys in the secondary, but they do like to blitz. That's been their MO under Arnett. I don't think that's going to change here with him getting the promotion to head coach. And DeLora was good against the blitz last year, almost a 60% completion percentage, 11 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, 8.4 yards per attempt. He can beat up on this secondary that's really got some question marks here. I think Arizona can stay inside this number. When you look at Arnett, who will definitely be is definitely a coach that will maybe lean more on his defense winning him football games than his offense and trying to protect his defense a little bit more compared to what Leach was doing in previous years. So I do think that they're going to struggle to get run away with this game and win this game by double digits. So I'll take the 9.5. Our last play. I'm on Pitt, +7 against Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a team I'll be fading quite a bit this season, and I've already taken them under their win total of 6 before the year started. Pitt is a team that I think can take advantage of these losses. I don't want to overreact to what Cincinnati did in week 1 against Eastern Kentucky. Emory Jones threw for over 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. I'm not going to take that away as this is what this team is as they make the jump to the Big 12. Cincinnati is ranking 124th in returning production. Luke Fickell is gone. He took some talent with him, and I think it speaks volumes that he left for a job like Wisconsin when, we had him talked about the year prior for the Notre Dame job. He might know what this roster looks like. 42% back on offense, just 49% on defense. Scott Satterfield takes over and enters with a lacking amount of talent at wide receiver. Tyler Scott and Trey Tucker gone. We had Alec Pierce for this offense just a couple years ago as well. The entire room turns just one returning receiver. They brought in 6 transfers to try to find an answer at this spot. And I do not trust Emory Jones in any way, shape, or form with underwhelming talent at receiver to be able to produce a quality passing offense. He is not a quality pocket passer, and this offensive line is going to be really poor. They lose 5 of their 6 offensive linemen from last year, and their tackle spot is lacking considerably. They've been trying to get to the portal to find an option. I don't think they have a reliable one. And the defense loses a considerable amount of production. They're 4 leaders in snaps in Ivan Pace, who was one of the most productive guys they've had the last 4 seasons. Actually went as a UDFA in the NFL, but found a job and got on a roster after they made all their cuts, which is awesome for him. Javon Hicks, Jaquan Shepard, Arquan Bush, all gone in the secondary. And Pitt, I know they lose some pieces up front on their defense. Servassier Dennis and Kalijah Cansey just got drafted. But year after year, this team has been able to be a productive team up front. They've been top 5 in sacks the last 4 straight seasons. I don't have a problem with them being able to reload at this spot. They got 2 excellent guys in the secondary in MJ Devonshire and Marquise Williams. I think they'll be able to handle this underwhelming receiving corps from Cincinnati. And I love what the offense gets an upgrade in from Keaton Slovis last year to Phil Yurkovich this year. I think they'll be able to take advantage of these losses that Cincinnati has in that second level of their defense. Give me Pitt -7 on the road against a Cincinnati team that I don't think is ready to make the jump to the Power 5 and with Scott Satterfield and all these departures. All right, 5 plays for you guys to get into for week 2 of the college football season. Again, if you guys enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know that you want to see this content for the remainder of the college football season. And as well, props.cash, promo code OwnersBox. It's going to help you undoubtedly betting on college football and definitely the NFL as well this season. So be sure to go check that out. That link will be down below in the description. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.